Welcome to the Amazon Legends podcast, where we have real stories about making it big on Amazon. Our guests are CEOs of large companies and entrepreneurs who became powerful sellers, also experts specializing in helping sellers, and both former and current Amazon employees who will give us an insight from behind the scenes. Here's your host, Nick Urison.
Welcome to another episode of Amazon Legends. My next guest today has been in Amazon and Walmart space for almost a decade, and he's the founder and CEO of Amazon AMZ Clever. It's a full-service agency. He's an avid traveler to far, far places, not your regular guy just takes a plane, but places like China and Indonesia. So that's his passion. So everybody meet my guest, Daniel Fernandez. Welcome to the show, Daniel.
Hi, Nick. I'm excited to be here. Share some knowledge.
Yeah, it's always a decade in the business. You must have a lot of things up your sleeve. So we want to learn from you today. When you and I had a conversation first, you told me about a formula for making sellers successful. So tell us about your formula.
Yes. First of all, let me just share my goal is to share content that people can implement right away, implement today. So I hope that is the case. And in terms of selling, right, let me see if I can distill the essence, right, of success on Amazon. I would say, starting from the top, right? It's all about organic ranking, right? If you don't reach organic ranking, your product or brand will not be profitable on Amazon. So then that leads us to the question of how do we get to rank organically, right? And the answer is you need to increase your sales velocity, right? For the specific keywords that you want to rank. So then if we walk a step back and we say, okay, how do we increase the sales velocity?
So hold on a minute. You've gone too far already.
All right.
First of all, why do you want to increase your organic rank?
So at the top of the list, right? When you are ranked organically, that's when you profit on Amazon. That's when you get more people to find your product. And also the sales that you get from that placement, right, from that organic placement are profitable sales. So that is the ultimate goal when it comes to Amazon. It could be done quickly. It could take a long time, but ultimately, unless the brand has really deep pockets, and has other ambitions, that is the goal.
Yeah. So, I mean, when I say you've gone too far, because, we're talking, you and I know, but people listening, they don't even know what their rank is, right? So this is called bestseller rank, or BSR for short. If you go to any product page and you scroll down like halfway through the page, you will see what your rank is, or what the rank of that particular product is. So, and they call it bestseller rank, and it's done per category. So what you are referring to is whichever category a product is in, you want that number to be as small as possible, right? That's what you're talking about.
I want to actually talk about a different measure of success. What you described right here is one measure of success. When I meant ranking, I meant a different one, which is when somebody searches a keyword, where in the search results your product appears for that specific search, for that specific query. That's what I call organic ranking, which is another. What you mentioned is another measure of success. That's important, but it's not something that in my opinion, we should be looking at every single day, because it it follows. It's what happens after you have ranked for many keywords, right? It's the effect of already having ranked for many keywords.
I'm glad you mentioned it that way, because that's what I was hoping for. Because you see, a lot of people don't really understand. So what to, again, for the listeners' benefit, what we're talking about is step-by-step success for a listing that will lead to your overall success. Your overall success is the rank that I was referring to, that shows up on the page for the category. But how you get that up there depends on what keywords you are focusing on with your PPC campaign, with your whatever campaign you're running when you launch your product or ongoing. And so the goal is whatever the keyword is that the Amazon shoppers use, your name comes up or your product comes up in the search results. That is the rank you are referring to. And that rank, unfortunately, you can't see it anywhere. There's no number, but you have to stay on top of it. But it is driven by many, many factors that we'll get into in a second. So ultimately, so why is this important? It's important because if you have a product where you focus on 10 keywords versus 50 keywords, it is much, much easier for you to focus on 10 keywords and achieve very high rank under those than go all over the place, right? And that will ultimately give you a much better exposure. Is that the case?
Yes and no. So let me explain. So back to the example, organic ranking is everything, right? But then the question is, okay, well, what are the keywords I should rank? And maybe Nick, maybe you can relate that there's a lot of courses out there, a lot of people that talk like, oh yes, you want long tail keywords and all that. But in reality, when we look at the data and we look at a product that's already very successful, most of their sales, more than 80% of their sales, will come from a handful of keywords, 10 keywords at most. And then the remaining, the tail, right? The remaining 20% will come from a combination of long tails and unrelated and all sort of keywords. So that's why I say yes and no, because the main focus is on identifying those handful of keywords that your product will get most of its sales ever, right? And once they have identified, to really, test them and there's many things we can unpack, but some budgets will allow to go after all of them. Let's say there's 10 of them. Some budgets will allow to just go for one of them at first, right? And then win at that one to then move on to the next one and then to the next one. Obviously, brands have more budget. We can do the 10 all at once, right? But that is what that is a common mistake I see. Sellers saying, "Okay, I'm gonna win going after the long tail keywords," right? And what's gonna happen is the person will move a few units here and there, but it's gonna be very low. It's gonna be crickets. It's not gonna rank. And it's going to be very reliant on advertising, right? And when you're relying on advertising, the only winner is Amazon. The seller wins experience. It's like the old saying, right? When a person with money means a person with experience, after a while, the person with experience becomes the person with the money, and then the person with the money becomes the person with experience. No, so that is what we want to avoid.
I see. So what you are suggesting then is when you launch with focus on fewer keywords with the purpose to dominate them so that you can increase your ranking as high as possible. Is that right?
Yes. It's identifying again, over and over again that we've done this. It's not a secret. It's always a short list of keywords, 10, 20 probably the max, that cause most of the sales for a product. So back to the original question, your mission, your most important mission is finding out what that short list of keywords is. That 10, sometimes it's less, maybe 5 to 20 keywords that the competitors, your competitors, provided that they are apples to apples, right? In terms of your product and their product, right? Finding out where they're getting their sales, what are the keywords they're getting their sales, most of their sales. Once you've identified that, then the marketing is all about those keywords. There is very disciplined tracking, monitoring. We leverage technology to do that, and then making sure that there's an ad budget and knowing what to do with that marketing budget. But in an essence, that is what success on Amazon looks like.
So as you know, if you knew those 10, 20 keywords, then you would go after them, but you don't know. At the beginning, you don't know. So how do you find out what those 10, 20 keywords are at the beginning?
Yes. So there's many people out there with their own systems. I'm going to show them our system, the one that we use with our clients, the brands that we work with, that we've been able to bring good results. You always need to start with a seed keyword, right? And the seed keyword, it comes from knowing your product, right? If you're selling a garlic press and it's a stainless steel garlic press, with rubber handles and maybe dishwasher safe, right? Your main keyword is going to be your seed keyword is going to be garlic press, right? That may not be the keyword that we're going to go after and do all the marketing. It's just a starting point, because from this main keyword, if we type it in on Amazon, we're going to get competitors that are going to show up for that keyword, right? So then we want to grab the top competitor that appears in those search results, right? When we type in our seed keyword. And then we're going to use a tool. There's many out there, but we're going to use a tool that will tell us all the keywords that this competitor that we know is a top competitor. We're going to see all the keywords that this competitor is ranked on first page for, right? And then let's say it's a list of 100 keywords, right? So we're then going to use also technology. There's some tools out there that can help us determine the search volume for all of these keywords, right? Because if it's a keyword that people only search 10 times a month, right? We can win for it, but that will probably represent, one sale every 2 months, right? It's not going to pay the bills. So on the opposite side, right? There might be a keyword there that is searched hundreds of thousands of times per month, right? And that may sound like, awesome, this is what we want to go for. But then we look at the budget and we have $1,000 a month budget allocated, or $3,000 a month budget. That's what the brand can spend, right? So it doesn't make sense to go for that too ambitious of a keyword. So based on that budget, and also based on how relevant we are to that keyword, we want to choose, right? And to give you an example, let's say at the very top is the key. We look at our competitor, we do this reverse engineering analysis, right, of the keywords they rank for. If we see for the keyword garlic press, stainless steel, or stainless steel garlic press, we see that keyword they rank number 1 on Amazon organically, meaning you type in and then they appear number 1 at the top of the page, right? And we see that keyword gets 5,000 visitors or people searching for it per month, right? It would be and we look at the product this competitor is selling. We see it is a garlic press, and we see it is stainless steel, and we also see it has good ratings, right? It is safe to assume they are getting many sales from that keyword. They're getting more sales than the number 10 product, on that page, right? So using this criteria, we call it internally, are we apples to apples to this competitor? And also, are we apples to apples to this keyword? Or are we apples to oranges, right? For example, if we are selling a stainless steel garlic press, right? And for the keyword stainless steel garlic press, we would be, it's an apples to apples comparison, right? But for the keyword, plastic garlic press, we would be apples to oranges. We can go after that keyword, but we're not going to beat the seller, the competitor that is actually selling a garlic press made of plastic. There has to be full alignment between, we call it product, keyword, market fit, right? Like the three need to be aligned. Some people call this relevancy, right? So our process is to find as many keywords that follow this full alignment while having a decent amount of search volume.
How many searches per month would be a reasonable amount of searches to target for with the keywords?
It's a range. Internally, we have our own, tiers for this. We call, if this is for the US, we have for each marketplace, right? But for the US, over 50,000, we consider that a very competitive niche, or very high in terms of difficulty, or it's just too popular of a keyword. So we try to stay away from those, right? The next tier that we look at is between 10,000 and 49,999, right? That we call high, right? So keyword there, we may or may not take it. It depends on how strong the product is in terms of value, right? Benefits, unique selling proposition, price, right? If we check many of those boxes, we will, and the brand has the budget, we will go for those in the high bracket, right? Most brands don't. The next tier for us is basically between the 2,000 to 9,999, right? And that we call, medium, right? And that is where we recommend most sellers go for. And that's what we do most of the time, because these are keywords. And again, it has to be perfect alignment between what we're selling, the keyword, and the market, right? A perfect alignment there. As long as that is the case, we go after keywords in that range, because they are often overlooked by sellers. Sellers want to go for the home run, right? Also, these keywords are cheaper with advertising. One thing to keep in mind with Amazon is you're paying per click, and the cost per click is determined by the competition. It's an auction. So we want to, by going to keywords that are less searched, still searched thousands of times, but less, you're going to be going for a cheaper pool, right? And then below that, between, I think our low tier is from 200 to 1,999. We have some there, and then below that, below 199 searches per month, and below that is our very low tier that we add it, but we don't expect much from there just because of the traffic.
So out of those, let's take a middle of the road approach where you targeted a keyword with 5,000 monthly searches.
Yes.
And you put the top bid on it, and you are appearing on page 1 as a sponsored listing. Now, what is the click-through rate in your experience you get on a new launch versus a mature launch listing?
Yeah, we're we look at the click-through rate. However, our main KPI is conversion rate, right? Because and oftentimes we have seen click-through rates to vary a lot, and to the point where it's still acceptable. But conversion rate needs to be either on or off for something to work, right? In fact, I mean, I'll give you an answer. So around 1% click-through rate, if your ad is showing at the top of the page, it's good. It's good, and most likely it is resonating, right? But then nothing really matters unless you convert,
Right.
and that's why we focus so much on the conversion rate.
So I have conversion rate is my favorite subject. I can talk about it all day long. So, and we can dissect it in every way. So first, let's start with the definition of conversion rate. What do you define conversion rate to be?
Yes, good question. Because Amazon used to give you a wrong calculation of conversion rate, in my opinion. We calculate by basically orders divided by sessions, and sessions are unique visitors to your Amazon listings, right? There is a 30-minute expiration date for a session, right? Like if you visit a product in Amazon within 20 minutes, you visit the product many times, it will only count as one session, right? But if you visit it an hour later, then that will be two sessions. So it's a very well adjusted metric. We do it by the order. Amazon used to do it by the unit, and the issue with that was, sometimes people bought 5 units, and if there was only one session, right, that would be a 500% conversion rate. That doesn't mean you're gonna go in and put $5,000 of advertising budget behind that, because it may have just been a one-off. One time we had a client that, and this is not just on the what I described right now is on the overall, but then PPC also has its own conversion rate. Right. We had somebody click an ad, and the product we were selling bought like 100 units, and these were a product that had, I think, $100 price point. So it was a lot of revenue, right?
Sure.
And then the client looked at the campaign, and he sees like a 0.01% ACOS, and he's started like, why are we not putting $50,000 advertising here? And then I mean, the answer was like, hold on, this is we'll take it. This is awesome. We'll take it. But this is not something that we should expect, nor make a data-driven decision on that, because it's a one-off.
Well, I want to unpack several things that we just discussed, because these are so fine points, but people need to understand. So first of all, we started with targeting a keyword that's getting X number of searches per month. So we said, for the sake of example, 5,000 searches a month. X number of people will click on it. Now, those clicks may be coming from your paid campaigns where you bid on it, and then you showed up at the top, or they may be clicking on just organic listings or organic results, because I'm sure that people have seen sometimes the same item appears on the same page twice. One at the top that says sponsored on it, that means they're paying for it, and one somewhere in the middle, because that's where they are ranking for that keyword. So people can choose to click on either one, but nevertheless, if they click on the top one, it's costing the seller money. But all roads lead to the product detail page. So now, of course, whether you click the one with the organic or with the sponsored, doesn't matter. You have one visitor being registered on the page as a session. So now you have one person there. Then the next question is, how many persons do you need on that page where one of them ends up making a purchase? And that is ultimately the conversion rate. Now that splits into two. And that's what you're referring to. So if I'm that one person and I bought 3 pieces, Amazon considers that as one person bought 3 times, right? Versus one person placed one order except bought 3 pieces. So the true conversion is one person can make one purchase. So you need to differentiate that. So tell us, and of course, we're not talking, you can make the same measuring for just specific to your paid campaign, not the whole thing, but paid campaign. So what is the most important for you? To track the paid campaign performance with conversions or the overall page performance for conversions?
Yes, good question. The answer is both, but, right, this is important, but 5 years ago, we expected more from the PPC conversion rate, right? We expected the PPC side to be profitable on its own, right? It was more siloed. Today, brands that silo the PPC performance from the overall performance will not rank their products, will not go anywhere, right? Amazon has become, and some people may not like to hear this, but has become a pay-to-play platform, right? And we can complain about it. We can say it's too complicated, too saturated, or Amazon should do something about it. Or we can work the system. We can leverage the way it's working today and grow and make some sales, right? We choose to do the other way. Because of that, we look at a lot of the KPIs that we look at are account-wide. For example, what we call ACOS is, in PPC terms, ACOS is your ad spend divided by your ad sales, right? But then we also look at something we call real ACOS. Some people call it true ACOS or TACOS, right? Which is your ad spend divided by the total sales, not PPC sales, but the total sales, right? That is a more effective metric, because the PPC efforts you're making, again, we go back to why we're doing things, right? The only reason we do PPC is to rank our products for keywords or to sustain our rankings that we already gained. That's it. If we try to make the PPC silo profitable, what will happen is our organic rankings will go down, will suffer, right? It's like trying to drive your car long distance, but staying on first gear, right? You will burn a lot of fuel. You will, not go anywhere, right? And maybe even break your engine. That's what is happening right now.
So, but this is what you're talking about is ACOS and TACOS. But those are different than the conversion rate. When it comes to conversion rate, so you spending money, you spend $100 to generate $300 from those clicks that you spend $100 for. So $100 versus $300, that's your ACOS. So you have 30%. And then you also, because you spend $100 in advertising, people, and you showed up on those keywords, you also rank up. And as you rank up, you get another, say, $700 worth of sales from your organic appearance. And now your $100 advertising spend generated $1,000 in sales. So that's the takeoffs you're talking about. However, what I'm talking about is with your $100 advertising spend, you send 100 people to the page. And out of those 100 people, maybe 30 of them, make it easier, 20 of them bought. So you have a 20% conversion rate, right? On the page. However, you may bring with the same example, you appeared organically. Instead of 100 people coming to the page, you had 1,000 people come to the page. And out of those 1,000 people, you got maybe 50 people purchase.
Yes. Yes.
So now your conversion rate 50 divided by 1,000 versus on the other one 20 divided by 100. That's what I was referring to, not in the monetary terms. So which conversion rate ultimately matters to you?
Yes.
If you're watching the overall one or the PPC driven one?
Yes. So end of the day, the one that weighs more for us is the overall account-wide conversion rate, right? However, the PPC conversion rate usually predicts your overall conversion rate.
Right.
And also, let me give you an example, right? Let's say we launch a new brand. Month number one, we're not going to have any organic ranking. Therefore, it's safe to say 100% of all of our sales are PPC sales, correct? Month number two, we started getting a little bit of organic ranking, right? Maybe we end month number two with 90% of all of our sales from PPC, 10% of our sales from that little organic ranking, right? The following month, let's say, becomes 80% of our total sales from PPC. We can follow all these all the way to it becomes 50-50 and maybe past that point. In fact, the sweet spot we look for is around 65% of sales from organic, 35% from PPC, right? But that takes a while. As we walk through this process, right, we are paying attention to the PPC conversion rate first because it's going to predict what's going to happen next. If you, at the beginning, you never get a good PPC conversion rate, you'll never see the daylight, so to speak.
Right.
Exactly. And to add one more thing to that is because I know you might be asking this next. What is then a good conversion rate? And the answer is relative, right? Let me give you an example. We've worked with brands, right, that sell products for $10, right? And for that brand at a $10 price point, $10 price point on Amazon is what we would consider an impulse buy, right? And it's a whole conversation, right? Impulse buy listings, you need to make them more emotional. You need to make it more lifestyle, more, because people will not read the text. Doesn't matter what you put in there, people won't read it. You can in fact, you want to put very short bullets, like 5 to 10 words, right? Because it's an impulse buy. A good conversion rate for a product like that, I would say has to be above 20%, right? On the other hand, right, let's say we have a client, we're selling speakers, expensive speakers, right? The ones that somebody with very, very, very high standards on listening to music and so on will want. These speakers, they cost around $500, right? Nick, a good conversion rate for us for those products is 1 to 2%.
Really?
With 2%, we're celebrating.
Really?
Right?
Oh my God.
So that's why true ACOS or tacos or real ACOS, also ROAS, we call it true ROAS or real ROAS. That metric applies to any account, high ticket, small ticket, but conversion rate is relative in terms of what is a good one.
So my next question is, where do you find these numbers? Where do you go to look at the conversion rate? What is the source? Because this is a couple of things. First of all, data in isolation means nothing. It's just a flash and then it's gone already. So you have to look at it in perspective. In other words, today versus yesterday versus last week versus last month versus last year, this time, all that stuff. So where is that data available for the listeners to go and say, oh, let me go check my conversion rate on the overall product page?
Yes. So I have a few answers for that. One is we use some technology, right? We use some software that working with other companies, developers have developed that connects with the Amazon backend, right? And allows us to do all kinds of custom reporting. That's one. Also,
and what
Amazon
is that software? Do you want to share that with us?
So, I mean, there's a few that many people know. For example, Helium 10 is one of them. We also have some that is custom to us, right? That we've worked with, people developing software, but we've made some custom solution for us. So that's on one hand. On the other hand, Amazon on the platform for sellers, which is called Seller Central, has also a section called business reports, right? And in that section of business reports, you can put a date range and you can see a breakdown of all your products for that date range. And then in there, you can customize the columns so that it shows you the conversion rate. They call it a unit session percentage, right? And this is you just want to make sure, because they used to make it not by the order, but by the units purchased. Now, I think by default, they show it to you by the order, which is good. But you can even customize that, right? So that is how we would check that if we want to look at it at the account-wide side of things.
So a couple of things. So Helium 10 is great. I use Helium 10, but I wasn't aware that Helium 10 provided conversion rates. I don't believe they do. So unless
they've added sessions. So they've now added sessions, which is from the business reports side. They've added also the mobile, what sessions come from mobile devices, what sessions come from desktop, and the overall. But is it's an important metric, right? But it's also available in Seller Central.
Yeah, and the Seller Central part is, and that's usually what I work with, is you just put it. You have to put the start date and the end date, and then you get the report, and you're just looking at one number. But to really look at it in perspective, you have to keep downloading it on regular basis, storing it so that you can make comparisons, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
And that's where it gets challenging. So this is great. Right. I mean, you've given the what I would call the anatomy of success, where you start from the launch, which keyword, how do you target keywords, what are good numbers, and then your paid campaign, and then how you measure success. This is great. Now, one final question before we move on. What affects conversion?
What affects conversion?
Yeah, what gets you better conversion? How do you improve conversion?
Yes. Many things. However, there is 3 that rank at the top, right? We call it the conversion rate trifecta. And the number 1 is price, right? And you could be selling the best product out there on Amazon, yet Amazon is always going to be a price sensitive market, right? No, I understand also many brands that are not in a position to, or don't want to change their price. That's fine. Yet this is one of the number 1 elements. The other element there is the stars ratings on Amazon, right? You want to have, depending on the niche, some niches 4 stars is good. Some niches 4.5 is good. Some niches out there, believe it or not, 3 stars is good.
Really?
Right? Yes. I won't I won't spoil it, but there's niches that I haven't found one where 2 stars is good. That would be weird. But so star ratings, right? And you will know, judging by your competition, where you need to be. The last one is your main image. This is a trifecta, and this is interesting, right? Because price, yes, we can control, but do we really want to compete on price a lot? The answer is usually you don't, right? Ratings, well, for ratings, you need to have a good product. You need to have a good review acquisition strategy, which we do for our clients. And besides that, you just need to wait. The more you sell, the more reviews you'll get, right? However, main image, that's the one where you have 100% control over. And you don't have to wait for that. You just have to make a very good, educated and sophisticated decision on what your main image needs to show. And this is we could do a whole podcast about this. But these are the 3 where you want to spend most of your time. If you're launching a new product, your product is brand new, you do want to play a little bit with the price factor, adding a discount and something there.
Right.
Then we start talking about the other stuff in the listing, right? And that's your bullets, that's the other images, that is your EVC. All these things, yes, they play a role. In our experience, small. You could have everything perfect, but if your main image is not good, your conversion rate will not be good.
Yeah. So you're right. This is what I see over and over, and people like to rush to get the listing up. Of course, once the listing is up, the clock starts ticking, right? And then your daily moving averages are constantly calculating. And if you have to make changes, so I always tell people, it's better to start late, but comprehensively, where you have the best version of everything that you're supposed to have. Because once you launch, you're going to make changes. You're not supposed to make too many changes at the same time. Change one thing at a time, because you want to see the impact of that change. Which means that if let's say you rushed it and you launched with the wrong main image, and you assume, I'll just replace it. Well, main image is not going to be the only thing that you're going to have to replace. There will be other things. So now You're going to say, okay, let's first change the picture. Of course, change it today. You're not going to change something else tomorrow. You have to wait.
Collect data.
Before you know it, 3 months have gone by and you are just testing. Why? Because you launched it too soon. So
yes. That's why they call it A/B test, not alphabet, not test the whole alphabet. So.
And by the way, I just want to share. I'm a big fan of Pickfu, Pickfu.com. You ever use Pickfu?
Yes. It's great. And also now Amazon has their own, something we do for our clients. Amazon has enabled a feature called Manage Experiments, which allows you to do A/B testing with your own products with real Amazon shoppers, which we have found is even more. Pickfu is great, but this is even more accurate to what you're trying to achieve.
That's great. So tell us, if you could change one thing in Amazon policies for third-party sellers, what would that be?
What would that be? That's pick one. To pick one is the challenge, right?
Yes.
I would say it's not exactly what you're asking, but I would say Amazon should not be allowed to sell their own branded products on their platform. Like, if I could happen to change one thing, it would be you're either a platform where sellers can sell, or you are an e-commerce website selling your own products. But both is something that I see a strong conflict of interest, because we have seen brands, clients that we worked with, we got all the way to the top, and then sooner than later, Amazon launched their own version of that, and they don't play by the same rules. They put it at the top. So that would be one. Another, and I have many of these, right? But another would be to allow, for example, to interact with customers much more. Amazon is this one. They're listening to my prayers because, for example, something that we've been doing for our clients now is you have the ability to people can follow your brand just like on an Instagram account. Now people can follow your brand, and you're able to. We're finding some strategies to engage with people that are following you, sending them messages and whatnot. But still, you are they're bound by pre-written messages that Amazon gives you. You cannot type whatever you want, right? I think it's a very exciting step in the right direction, and I'm looking forward to see what Amazon will develop there.
Interact with customers more. You're talking about allowing sellers to be able to interact with Amazon customers?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
That's heavily regulated, right? Because they don't want the sellers to tell the customers, go buy them on my website.
I think it's they're going to have to do that sooner or later. In fact, in the last few months, I think they must have had some kind of board meeting where they decided like, okay, we're going to start giving more data to sellers, right? In the last few months, Amazon has been very prolific at opening up more data points to sellers. One that we have access now on beta is, remember earlier we talked about all the tools that you can, they give you some estimates of search volumes per keywords. We are now getting that search volume from Amazon themselves, from the source. So it's as accurate. It's real data, right? And it's allowing us to be more dangerous.
Yeah. So that's great. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where do you live and where you grew up?
Awesome. Yes. So originally born, raised in Lima, Peru. Then I lived in the States for many years till I decided to move to China. I had started my agency here and started growing it here. An opportunity came around to work with some brands over in Asia. So went to China, lived there for 3 years. I actually got to learn Chinese. And, it was an amazing experience because I learned the way Chinese sellers, Chinese brands do Amazon, also the way here in the West that we do Amazon. So I have a very nice perspective from both sides that allows us to be very strategic, very, very smart, clever, right? That's why our company is called AMZ Clever. From there, I lived in Bali, Indonesia. That's during the pandemic. Now I am based in South Florida. I'm in West Palm Beach, and my team is fully remote. I have people here, people in Europe, Asia. I'm being fortunate to travel around a bit.
So where did this interest come from? Is in terms of, first of all, working on such a complex platform as Amazon, and then traveling to places where some people would find too far, too inconvenient, different language. So for you, it looks like, the more challenging it is, the more you gravitate towards it. Is that the case?
Thanks for asking that. I would say I've been motivated a lot by difficult things, challenging things. I think they're the ones worth pursuing. So many years ago, and this was started as a dream, if you may, was, could I build a company that makes me location independent, right? While helping adding value to brands and be able to make sales and grow, right? And around that time is when I learned about Amazon, right? And I learned about, I originally started selling. I was living in San Francisco and I had a good job in tech, and I started selling. And my first, brand did so well that I made probably I rushed into the decision of leaving my job. Living in an expensive city, I realized that with a product business, you actually need to reinvest to buy more inventory and more inventory. So I very quickly realized, I'm gonna shift this to a service-based business, and I never looked back. Right, I started working with clients and brands and growing and hiring people. But the question at the beginning was, can I do something that makes me location independent? I'm so grateful for the internet, right? It's such a wonderful thing that I think many people take for granted, right? That allows us to live amazing lives. So that's what basically, that was the idea, and then it got executed, and to this day. And I have people in my team, for example, that, we're a very friendly company in terms of work and travel. Like, it doesn't matter where you are as long as your work gets done. I have a person in my team that every 3 months she goes to a new country and is seeing the world,
So why did you want to have location independent business?
Yeah, for a few reasons, but I think the main one was trying to redesign a career. Right. My dad, he lived his whole life working at an office and, some vacation here and there, without much opportunity until later in life, right? When he retired and he started traveling. So the real question was, is this the only way? Or now that I have the internet, right? Can I, that allows us to work from anywhere? Can I build something based on that, right? That was the hypothesis, and so there were other people doing it already, which made it much plausible.
So you seeing your dad always having to get up every day, go to the office and work. How did that? I don't want to say impact, but what? Did you want to do things with your dad, and then you experienced the fact that you weren't able to do those things because he was having to go to the office every day? Was that happening?
Absolutely. I love my dad, and he worked really hard, and that was what the situation back then, right? But still, I, in a way, raised myself, and my influences were, my friends, and maybe people that were slightly older than me, and perhaps not all of them were the best influence, right? Where I think now in the age of the internet, and this is not true for all industries or for all businesses, right? But we're able to, I want to start a family and have kids and be able to be a strong influence for them. And that only comes from, spending time together. Yeah. So it is, and I like to quote, Tim Ferriss, the famous book 4 Hour Workweek, which the title is not true. Just disclaimer. but the whole premise of the book is what's called lifestyle design, right? Yeah. Like, you can design the way your life will play out to some degree. There is always room for random and unexpected, right? But it is, and I have a coach that I interact with a lot, and one of the favorite things that he told me is, do the hard thinking once, right? Like, instead of have to problem solve each time or, bump your head against the wall, just right now spend the time to actually think things through really hard, right? To come up with the proper structure or the plan or the strategy. Humans, we, and I'm going to sound like a help self book now, but we are the only species that has the ability to plan ahead, and nevertheless we plan very little,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I heard somebody say something similar. So a long time ago, and I believe that, these athletes that who become wildly successful, for example, Mark Phelps, great swimmer, he's built for it. So obviously he won many medals, and you have Michael Jordan, basketball, you have all these people. Now, they just happen to have found the particular sport to focus on. But I believe that these people were already talented athletes. Mark Phelps could have easily become a very successful basketball player. Michael Jordan could have become very successful swimmer if he wanted to. He just happened to find that particular niche and focused on it. He just had it in himself to be able to be good at any sport. The reason I'm telling you this is for you, really, what I'm hearing is not because the internet made it successful, because you developed a dream. I think what you were looking for was you had an experience growing up wanting to spend more time with your dad. And since he kept going to the office, you said, I'm not going to have this in my life. And I'm going to create a life that will allow me to do the things that anytime I want to do them. And internet just facilitated it. And the Amazon business just facilitated it. And they just happen to be complicated things. Amazon platform, it's a complex thing. Didn't matter to you because ultimately what you were looking for was to have a different kind of life than your dad had in order to be able to spend time with family. What do you think? Would my theory be right?
Now we're getting into chicken or the egg, and I don't I don't know the answer, or whether we are in control of our destiny or not. That's a very interesting question, philosophical. I think that yes, to some extent, right? To some extent, our history, our background, right, determines how we do things. We tend to, run away from, pain and towards pleasure, right? We try to make our life, and then we get into very psychological stuff, right? Like, people that grew up with, I don't know, always being, bullied, often later in life become bullies, right? So it's very interesting, right? But I think one, back to what you mentioned, and in terms of advice for others, right? Like I've stuck to this business for the last 6-7 years, plus some more, right? But just this specific agency, and really kept at it, right? And I heard it takes about 7 years to, get to a point where the business is optimized to be somewhat successful, right? Less than that is great, and sometimes it's luck, So sticking to it, and I think that is also something very important in this day and age of instant, gratification.
Yeah, well, you know what the saying: the harder you get, the harder you work, the luckier you get, right? So
Yeah.
This is great, Daniel. So give us your contact information for anybody who needs your services or needs to reach out. How can they reach you?
Yes, absolutely. Best way to reach me is email daniel@amzclever.com. I try to get back to everyone, whether it is to inquire about working, helping your brand, or just to an introduction, just to network, formally or informally. Shoot me an email. Then my website is also amzclever.com, but best way is via email.
Great. Thank you.
Mention this show. Mention the Amazon Legend show that you heard us speak there.
Well, we will put your information on our website together with your contact info. So I'm sure people will reach out. So you have given very specific. You said something at the beginning of the show. Anything anybody hears, I want them to be able to take action, and I'm sure they will. And with that, thank you.
I want to, if it's all right, I want to add one quick tip, something that to fulfill that promise from the beginning. I would say on your Amazon, go to your brand registry. You will see at the top a green banner. If you click on it, that's going to take you to the unique brand registry for this. It's going to take you to the new brand, search query performance. And that's going to be the place where Amazon is going to show you all the keywords your products are relevant for. And it's going to show you your own purchases, not for PPC, but for actual organic sales. And then you can cross-check that with the brand analytics search term section. You can see the top sellers in there, and then you could plug in, for example, if a top seller for a specific search term on the brand analytics side, you compare that with in the search query performance, where Amazon is telling you this keyword has a total of 2,000 purchases per week, and then you see on the other side, this product has 25% of all the purchases for this keyword, then you know that seller is selling, how much is that? 500 units or purchases in that given week. So there you have it.
That's great. Thank you, Daniel. This was great.
My pleasure. Let's do it again.
Sure, we'll do. And that brings us to the end of another episode, and I'll see you on the next one.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Be sure and subscribe, rate, and review our show. And be sure and share an episode with a friend. And thank you so much for being with us today. We'll see you next week here on Amazon Legends.